Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we are going to be talking about something that is very serious and is pretty bad for the league because Abram Smith is gone for the year. Abram Smith was one of the most electrifying players this past season in either the USFL or XFL, and sadly he is done for the year. He has tore his ACL during the training camp. Now, we've initially heard reports from Mike Mitchell about that it wasn't confirmed, it was just feared. And then we ended up having the official league notice that he was put on IR, as well as Jake Russell talking about that it was confirmed that he has in fact tore his ACL. That means that Abram Smith, the XFL's leading rusher this past season, is officially out for this season. Now, this isn't like the Ja'Cour Pearson. This isn't, a big player going down for a few weeks. This is a insanely key player on a team that was supposed to be this elite team done for the year. This is a seismic shattering type of, or just an earth shattering type of move to the UFL. Prayers up for him and getting him, healthy. Hopefully he recovers fully from this ACL. We've heard, sometimes ACL injuries become even worse than what you expect. Hopefully he's able to be back within just a year to be back next year and all that. It is a big deal, but we have to look at this as well as what this means for the league as a whole. This is a massive move for the Defenders and is a just insane move for the XFL conference. It is a complete power dynamic change. Because for those of you who don't know about Abram Smith, if you were just a USL fan, Abram Smith heading into the UFL it's one of those all but inarguable statements. He is either the first or second best running back. It is either him or Mark Thompson. That's it. There's no argument for anyone else. So some people have him as number one, some people have him as number two. He is one of the two best running backs in this league. So you're losing one of the two best running backs in the league, and I think a lot of you would agree that the difference from Mark and Abram to everybody else is pretty big. Abram Smith this past year had 788 rushing yards. That shattered second place. We're talking 300 more yards than second place in Jack Fitzpatrick. His 7 rushing TDs were up there for some of the most in the league. And even though he wasn't a huge receiving threat guy, he still had 91 yards on 13 receptions. And he was a huge reason why the Defenders went 9-1 and had the best record in the entire XFL. Now, aside from that, when they made it to the playoffs, even though his game against the Seattle Sea Dragons in the division finals wasn't all that great, his game in the championship, he was one of the few guys that really did something. He had a 52-yard run, ended up having 2 TDs for 90 yards and 13 carries. So he was one of the few players on that Defenders team that, didn't just completely fumble the bag in the championship game. And in the division finals, the team took a very early on lead, so it's not like he had to do a ton of stuff. And of course, he was the All-XFL running back. Yeah, this is a big player to lose. This is one of those truly elite players we're losing. Not just a great player. We're talking truly elite. And he's done for the season. But we have to look at what this means for the Defenders as a team. Because the Defenders, to a lot of people, were the second best team in the league, and this changes everything. The Defenders' other running backs are where we start to see the issues. I know Mike Mitchell was talking about other talented guys, but, when you look at it objectively, it's a bunch of question marks. Puka Williams basically did nothing at the running back position last year. He was a return. He was a damn good returner. He only played in a couple games and did a lot in those 2 games. And he was really good in the postseason. Cameron Harris basically only, did things in the division finals, where he did look pretty decent, but again, he only had 5 carries, so it's not like he did a ton. And then Darius Higgins is the unknown guy. This is a dude who was with Reggie Barlow at Virginia State, so he does have experience with him, but again, he didn't end up doing anything because of when he signed on to the team naturally. It was during the offseason. So, at least on the right now, they don't really have a guy that's going to be able to even come close to replacing him. Let's be honest again. Unless they were somehow able to get Mark Thompson in a trade, there's nobody they can get that can replace him aside from him. So, it's about getting guys who are close enough, and they don't have anyone close. This is a group that you would just be a massive unknown. You already have a very weak receiving core. I did a video on the wide receiver rankings. I put them at number 8. They have a pretty weak tight end group. The whole reason people were still high in the Defenders were because of the rest of the offense. It's like the opposite problem with the Battlehawks, where the Battlehawks are weak at running back and tight end. The Defenders were weak at wide receiver and tight end in a sense. But now you're losing the whole reason people said you were better than the Battlehawks. Abram Smith was why people said you were better than them. Because the Battlehawks had nobody even close at the running back position to him. And the fact is that the defenders, they get a lead, they can just run Abram Smith. So the question now is, what do they do? In terms of free agent guys, there are a few guys they could go after. Now, Tobias Taylor and Ezra Gray are a couple of the lower ones. Tobias Taylor was with the defenders during the offseason training camp early on, part of the cuts. Then Ezra Gray was a very high pick by the Roughnecks. It was one that nobody really understood, but there's that. Now, one of the guys is all dependent if he wants to return to spring football, considering the fact that he hasn't been signed at all since he was, left unprotected, and that's Reggie Corbin. Reggie Corbin this past season, I've talked about it before, he'll have those games where he looks incredible, but then he'll have games where he's just kind of there for a few weeks. In the end, though, he did have over 500 yards from scrimmage this past season, so, again, not what, we were seeing from Abram Smith, but still a solid season, and he did have 2 TDs. Now, I would honestly go with probably Kareth White. Kareth White with the Showboats only played in 6 games, and in those 6 games, he did put up 285 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards, as well as 2 TDs. He looked very solid in the games he played in, and I think that overall he's a more consistent back than Reggie. He didn't fumble at all on his 77 attempts, so that's a big plus to me. Then there's also Morgan Ellison. Morgan Ellison was with Seattle this past season. He played in 5 games before a season-ending injury happened to him. He had over 250 yards, averaging 50 yards a game, and he had 38 yards receiving. Did have a TD. So these are some of your best options available. But again, here's the deal. Even if you were to sign, let's just say you signed Kareth White. Even if you sign him, you're still talking about a huge downgrade. I talked about in the running back room video as well. The whole reason the defenders were as high on the list as they were was because of Abram Smith. I did not trust their backups at the time. I still don't trust their backups a ton now. The fact is that this move is unfathomable to the team. This is the type of move that can totally derail the season. Heading into the season before we heard this news, the best team in the XFL conference was the defenders. It was. There was no argument. Now, it's probably the Battlehawks. When you lose this guy, you lose your argument about why you're better than the Battlehawks. It doesn't matter if you prefer Te'amu or McCarron. I mean, let's just say you preferred Te'amu over McCarron, and that's your only argument now. And let's say you prefer the defenders' O-line over the Battlehawks' O-line. The tight end room, even if you say the defenders are better, they're both not that great. Wide receiver room, you have the best in the league, the Battlehawks, versus the worst in the league, the defenders. And then now, at the running back position, you're one of the weaker teams now. This drops the defenders in a running back room to one of the worst in the league. They need to sign somebody. But even if they do, I don't know, man. Because now this is a team that is very much like the opposite of the Roughnecks on offense, where you have this incredible defense, can carry you to wins. But now instead of having a question mark at quarterback and good at everywhere else on offense, you're basically bad everywhere on offense at the skill position group, except for quarterback. You have who some would say is the best QB in the league, some would say second, some would say third, but at the end of the day, a top 3 quarterback in Jordan Te'amu. And what else? I mean, really, what else is there at the skill position group? There's not really anyone that, makes you go, oh man, that dude's incredible. It's just, this is a huge move. This move, I've talked to multiple people, whether it be on X, you can follow me there on X/Twitter. I've talked to this on people on comments on my community post. This is a move that legitimately drops the defenders spots. Note the S, spots. This is plural spots they're going to drop because of this move. This is a move that completely eliminates any hope of them going 8-2. This is the type of move that legitimately could make it be where they miss the playoffs. And that's not a joke. When you lose half of your great skill position group, literally one half, can I really say that much? You didn't need to have these top tier wide receivers and tight ends when you had a great running back. You didn't. But now that you don't have the top tier running back, you do need them, and you don't have them. So the defenders just fell a few spots on the power rankings list. And if you're a defenders fan, you got to be worried. This is a big deal. We saw last year with the first 2 weeks of the season how bad the Gamblers were without Mark Thompson. 0-2 without him, 5-3 with him. That's basically what it's going to look like with the defenders as well. Now, Te'amu and the defense probably can hold the fort a lot better than Bahar and the defense last year for the Gamblers did. But again, with this league, Everyone knows it. The worst teams in the Brahmas and Panthers compared to the best teams in like the Stallions, it's not as high a gap as it was last year. This is bad. Again, we hope for Abram Smith to get a speedy recovery, but this is a huge move in the UFL. This eliminates what everyone thought was going to be this cakewalk for the Stallions and Defenders to meet in the championship game. This is a massive move that just truly just obliterates the expectations we have for this upcoming season. It's a big deal. But again, we'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully, Abram Smith recovers fully well and is back on the field next year. And as always, guys, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't already. You can click the join button to become a member. I have a channel member exclusive video that posts today. And as always, have a great night.